Welcome all to Low-Code Campfire. This is episode number 244 for May 22, 2026. Today is an Open Lines Friday. I am Dale Warner, head of support for Plant an App, and this is an event that we do on most Fridays this hour, 10 a.m. Central Time, where we get together and talk about what's going on both at Plant an App and with our Plant an App projects. So we get together and share our challenges and techniques and experience with one another. It's all skill levels welcome. We are glad you're here. If you're listening in replay, we would hope that you would join us some Friday morning U.S. time. We record all these, put them on YouTube so you can play them back afterwards over and over again. Um, that's on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/plantanap. Oh. Um, We run this agenda week by week. We stop and say hello because we're a friendly group, and then we go around the campfire. We always start with first call and anything you want to talk about. I usually have a few things that I want to talk about, and then after an hour or so, we go into our afterglow segment where we turn off the recording, enjoy ourselves for a few more minutes, begin to celebrate the weekend a little bit. So, in whatever way you want to participate, we do hope you'll jump in, show and tell, use the chat window, but jump in, help us out. You can submit questions and topics in advance at support@plantanap.com. I do a little bit of research, then put them on the agenda. We maybe get some help from your fellow low coders. So with that, I will say hello to one and all.
Good morning. Happy Friday.
Thank you. I am in a completely disclosed location. I'm sitting at home, but unfortunately having to use my laptop. My desktop is working with the dreaded blue screen of death.
Hmm.
Uh, it's certainly messed with my week. But yeah, the backup plan always works. So, well, let's start out with what anything you want to talk about.
Now that I have a microphone, I'll just say good morning.
Hey, hello. All right. This could be a very abbreviated session today. We'll see how it goes. I have one thing that I wanted to put on the list to talk about in the upgrade, but I've now just thought of another thing I could start giving a heads up on, getting opinions on, but this one first. Um, in the upgrade to 1.28, we made the decision to empty out the recycle bin before the upgrade. And the reasoning has to do something like this. Any forms that you might have had in the recycle bin, uh, forms, listings, anything that had actions to it, we were migrating all of that content from the form to the new home for actions. And so there's a lot of migration stuff going on. And in actuality, we found that quite late in the process. So, um, in any case, the end result was that things that were in the recycle bin were not getting migrated, and and then if you happen to restore something from the recycle bin, it it didn't have the actions associated with it correctly. So we took kind of a brute force approach and said, let's anything that's in the recycle bin we'll clear the recycle bins so that we don't have to worry about them for the purpose of our upgrade. So that's what we did. That's a real thing. So now the question is, um, how important is the recycle bin to you? Would it make uh, at a major version if we emptied the recycle bin and you knew about that in advance? Of course, you're doing a major version. You should have a backup of your site anyway. Is this a good thing that we emptied out? Is it a bad thing? Do you not care at all?
So I'll chime in. You know, if I'm going to use the recycle bin, I usually do it within, the the same hour or same day at least of when I deleted something, and that's a planned thing. Maybe I think that I want to recover it, and I always ask my colleagues before I empty the recycle bin, and everyone almost says, "Yeah, go ahead." So, and I think it's good to make sure you do it on a regular basis also. So I think as long as you know ahead of time that's going to happen, it seems like a good move to me.
To me, it's a indifferent. It's like I would I don't count on it being there more than a few minutes after I delete something. So
Good to know. Um, From a support perspective, at some of our earlier versions, like I think 126, you may have experienced this, but sometimes we said, sometimes our low code pages, like the SQL console or something, needed to be refreshed. And we would say, uh, delete the page from underneath the configuration menu, empty the recycle bin, and it will just automatically restore. And nobody ever said, but I don't want to clear my recycle bin. So that my experience has been pretty much what you both said, that you don't count on it for long periods of time, and emptying it isn't life-changing. Ben, welcome. We're talking about the recycle bin and whether you have any strong opinions about whether we clear it during major upgrades.
Um, Me personally, I would say not to touch the recycle bin.
So that's a vote no. You would say it shouldn't be our job to touch the recycle bin.
Correct. I would think the recycle bin is something that should really be the responsibility of the administrator of the site.
All right. So now we have one vote on each one of these. So with that clear consensus, we'll just do what we want. I'm joking, of course. I'll bring that back to our product team and uh, see if
I'll,
we have. Go ahead.
I'll give you a second vote alongside Ben. I'd prefer you didn't touch it, but I can understand if you have to. As long as I know.
Uh, Well, and I think that's certainly key, and I'm not sure we did a great job at explaining that during the 128 upgrade, but uh, communicating what we're doing makes a lot of sense. Okay. Well, all right. Thanks for thinking about that. So now we're back to we your first call. Anything else you want to jump in and talk about? All right. So I made reference to something that we're just beginning to talk about internally. So this is you're getting early information, and it might be completely unreliable, but we are strongly considering our next version to be version 2.0. We've all been dealing with Planting Up 1. I think I came on board with Planting Up 1.10, and we're up to version 1.28. So we're thinking about version 2, and the reason that there's two strong arguments for that. One is that we're about to come out with the new Forms product, so Forms 2.0, and that's a pretty big milestone for us. The second is that it was the next version is where we remove support for Bootstrap 3. Bootstrap 3 has long been part of our product. We made Bootstrap 5 available several versions back, maybe even 1.18. And anyway, it's we're stripping it out as part of keeping our product current and as lean as we can make it be. So that's happening. And then being able to, for example, explain to people who are coming to the product from the DNN Sharp world, and that it'll be a very clear demarcation that in order to get here, you'll have to go through migration up through this certain point. Version 1.28 is where you'll be able to install to and keep your Bootstrap 3 things, and then from there you'll need to go to Bootstrap 5. So from a support perspective, I think it'll help me keep straight where that line is, but I don't know if you have any reaction. I don't know if you care what we call our versions, but I think
I think that's a good dividing point to do it. I mean, I'm surprised we haven't relabeled it up before now, because there's so many different things from version 1.04 or something where I started. So
is that where you started, Jim?
somewhere back in there, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we all had DNN Sharp experience, but where we cut over into Plant and App is at different spots. Cool. So more to come on that one. All right, I have a couple of things that might be useful. As far as I know, nothing new happened in the documentation since last time, although I, I find that I rely on this more and more in my support role, both, what is it that we have said about this, and can I point people to the documentation or versions, or exactly how to answer questions. So it's, I feel like it's coming along and being more useful. But community forum, I thought we'd just go see what's going on out there. Oh, and there was a question. There is a new question, and two new ones. One is about parse the tab bookmark name. So one of our clients wanted the ability to say, well, what tab is currently being viewed, and to be able to react to that. Have you faced this problem before, and how did you face it?
I have looked at that before. Not necessarily the tab name, but there is an identification that belongs to the tab that can be pulled. I was looking at it too. I wanted to remain a consistent experience um, across my application if they were in one tab versus another tab. Considering that a person could do two different tasks on the same website at the same time, if they're in different tabs, I wanted to have their background information separated into the right tabs. So anyway, I did look at this, and I was able to identify the tab by an ID number. And I don't know if that helps you or not. I didn't read this yet.
Okay. And just to as I explained that, now I want to make sure we're talking about the same thing. So from a DNN perspective, the DNN has a tab ID, which is kind of synonymous with what page are you on. And then I'm talking about within Tabs Pro, the Tabs module, knowing as you click from tab to tab within a Tabs module, we keep track of what tab you're on, or you can you can synchronize that with the URL. That's optional, but we do that through the pound sign, um, which um, which I guess correlates to in HTML to an anchor tab. The benefit of that is then if you were to copy and paste the URL into another browser tab or into a different browser or come back to it at a later time, that it auto navigates to the right browser tab, to the right Tabs Pro tab based on the presence of that pound sign. So is that what you were, which of those were you talking about, Mark?
Yeah, I'm on the wrong page. I was talking about browser tabs.
Okay. So, yeah. Anyway, I was thinking about this was an interesting problem to me, thinking about um, if you had a page layout, for example, that you had a form at the top of the page and then followed by a Tabs Pro module lower in the page, and people could navigate through the Tabs Pro to see different things within the um, you'd have different content on different tabs. That the module sitting on the top, if you wanted it to react in any way to what tab was currently being browsed, I don't think you could. That's the problem that I interpret Wes was having here. Because the whatever tab that the hashtag that appears to the right on the URL isn't actually being sent. It's not part of what you can get from the query string. It's only on the browser side, so you can't react to it by that way.
I'm sure you could do it through JavaScript, but
I was thinking the same thing.
there must be it'd be nice if there was an easier way.
So funny you should mention that. My contribution for the week is this: the on-tab change JavaScript. I always hit the wrong one here. This is my program, and I didn't. Yeah, okay. So I have tab over here, and as I'm clicking it, the JavaScript is firing to say what tab that you've gone into. And if you ever need this information and be able to do something else, I didn't do anything else with it, but we can take a look at it here real quick. So all of my implementation of this was that in the tab module itself, for the settings, I added a class, and that's purely for the purpose of making it easier to find the tab that I wanted to target. So in this case, I added sample tab class. And then in my form, I have an initialization script. Nope, I did it as a static text, but little JavaScript to find that class and add an event listener everywhere that it happens. So whatever you wanted to happen at the click of a tab could be added here pretty simply. So if you wanted to push a button or cause a form to refresh or just track how people are navigating around your page. You could put anything you want in this spot. Um, Pretty sure that all of that happens um, on the browser and doesn't do a round trip. So as we're navigating here, we're not seeing any call. Oh, it's network that I care about, but there's no network call. So this is just happening locally, and that's part of why you can't capture it, um, at the forum. So um, if I didn't have that alert present, you wouldn't see any activity back to the server. So makes it hard to respond to what's going on there.
So Dale, this looks very interesting. Um, I playing devil's advocate for a minute. I was wondering if there is a possibility that a person could switch tabs without clicking the actual tab that sticks up there.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
if the tabs were open already, probably
Um,
vertically stacked or something like that, where it's already open. Would your process capture that switch from tab to tab?
well, so for example, if we switch here, we're on tab A, and if I were to paste in the URL for tab B, I don't think we'll get a round trip. See, it does. If you push anything to this anchor JavaScript or even copy paste navigation, we don't get the browser doesn't trigger to do a round trip. I'm not sure I answered your question.
Well, I'm thinking of the situation. Let's say your tabs are vertically stacked and you left two of them open and visible. Um, that would mean that a user could click into the contents of one of the tabs. In essence, they're switching from one tab to another. And I don't know if the use case is requiring that the application know that they just did that. Because they're not clicking on the tab that's sticking up there at the top of the tabs. They're clicking into the contents of the tab.
You're saying multiple open at the same time?
Yeah, I think if you go stack them vertically, you can leave them several open, like the accordion.
I haven't played here in a long time, so if you'll permit me, I'll set up a test. We can take a look at it.
And it may not be important because you probably, knowing you, you've probably already satisfied the use case that was pulled in.
So I'm pretty sure the use case, it was all about changing drop-down lists. So a form needing to react to what tab they're on. So I would interpret that as like you want to reinitialize a form. So hopefully we have. I'm on my less than perfect internet today as well. Subfile this under January. We'll never find it again. So first, let's create some test tabs. And we want this as perhaps vertical. Show empty tabs so we don't have to put anything on there to see the tabs and play with it. So in vertical and horizontal, you can only have one thing open at a time. Where was that? Accordion.
Accordion. I noticed there's a collapsible checkbox that might come into play.
Well, let's try it both ways. So we're showing overview by default. We click into tab A, it closes overview. Put tab B. So still only one at a time. Does anybody of you know the answer? Collapsible initially collapse.
Well, I
Anybody
might be
know for
thinking
sure
about
that you can see two at a time?
I might be thinking about the fact that you can put multiple modules inside the same tab,
Mm-hmm.
and they can also appear collapsed or not collapsed. But
Yep. Yeah, so it's all one at a time, and just
and the only way you can get into them is by clicking the tab name.
or manipulating the hashtag. So
Those are both
uh,
covered.
uh, notice there's no round trip when we do that, unless like if you put a grid in there and told it to activate based on opening the tab, you'd see a round trip then. But um, it's just a browser-based thing going on with that.
You know, I must have been thinking about the fact that you can have multiple modules in the same tab.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what about follow-up question? What about the initial tab that's already open? And I don't know if is that part of the requirement to know that that's the tab that's open?
Um, Good question. I'm capturing a change, not an initial, although I think when you no, that's a great question. That if somebody browsed to the page using, I think there is not any way to tell what the. I don't think this is part of the transmission that goes to um, the server. So get and query string would not be useful. But let's uh, preserve the log. So if we go all the way to the top and look at the load, see it. Oh, that's a refer. It's going to. hmm, get around the caching of the browser, which is why I did the a equals 1 there. All right. Let's see if we can find this. I outsmarted myself. Let's try again. And I want to see all. That's the problem. So this is the initial call that happened from the browser. And notice that the hashtag is not part of what it sends. It doesn't even send it. So it's not part of what you could test for in any kind of action. So you would have to know. I don't know if you could reliably know what tab they're on in the first place. We can reliably detect changes.
Does a get communicate the hashtag contents? Like if you were to get the URL? Because if you had an action form sitting on there evaluating to get on load.
That's what I'm saying. Since it's not even part of what's being transmitted to the server, there's no way that that the form could find it. I've run into this in a different way. Somebody was asking about, they had an API and they were trying to send the hashtag to do a server request that included a hashtag, and our server request essentially was stripping it out. It's not normal HTML. It's not part of the normal communication, and so it's assumed to not be something that you can send. I'm not sure I'm explaining that as the way the client ran into it, but so trying to think about what's within tabs, advanced settings. I think within a form, there's some actions that you might be able to work with. Looking at the form that I have on this page. There's on tab enter, which might give us what we need.
It looks like JavaScript can grab the bookmark out of the URL.
Okay.
So that's easy enough to look up. Having started that process, it's right there. So I think I'm satisfied knowing that you could figure out which tab they landed on when they got here.
Okay, good. That would make sense that you, like I say, the action form, it's not part of the network communication. The action form, when it's running, wouldn't know. But after the form loaded, and if you put JavaScript on the page, you could look at the URL and then you could react to that and potentially signal back if it absolutely needed to know to be known at the server level. You could signal it back. It's an interesting problem. Okay.
Okay, sorry I made you work so hard.
No, nobody else is throwing anything at me to investigate, so it seemed like a worthwhile thing to spend a little time on. So that was one thing that was in the community. I'm going to close all that stuff to the right so that we can keep track of where we are here. And then there was another one posted that I don't even think I'd seen yet. So what's a nice way to convert something into to ISO and into Central Daylight Time, which I think um,
I think you could just nest that token into another token, right? Datetime token, something like that.
I would think so, and I wonder even. I mean, I don't. It doesn't. Um, membership that's not a core token, is it? I'm wondering if that's his own custom token as well. See, my internet stalls here. I don't know what's going on. Uh, tokens. Ah, there is a membership token. Okay. So he was trying to use membership last login date. We're getting that out of it. So from a formatting standpoint, nope. Um, we're getting a date. So then it's how do we convert that to ISO or to daylight savings time, to central time? Uh, whole section on date and time. Um, can't even see my cursor. So you can force a different format by using or perhaps misusing the relative. Um, you can feed it any date, and then now you get access to the formatting functionality. So if you knew the format for ISO. But I think answering his question most directly, yeah, and he's really asking to choose. Do you do some kind of a nested token or a complex SQL? I wouldn't think the SQL would be that complex, but maybe a third answer, JavaScript would probably be a nice way to do that without having to do a round trip into the SQL server. Anyone have a better answer?
The question I have is, do we know how that date is stored to be able to start converting it like to ISO, or to say, what what value is that, what time zone is that date stored in?
Exactly. Last, and we'll see if we can divine that. I haven't played. I couldn't even remember membership. So let's try that again. We got membership. Well, he's asking about this one particularly, so let me copy paste. So this says 3:48 p.m. membership. Uh, what is
That looks
this?
like it'd be UTC.
Do you think this is me, current user, or I mean, or this might be the last time somebody last logged into the site? Let's try that. So if I go force a login to happen. And then put that away and run this again. No change. So I don't know what this value is supposed to be presenting. You could probably back into what it is doing and then answer that question. Yes. And then once you understood that, you could figure out a way to convert it. But I would probably if I wanted to do it in JavaScript, I'd probably rely on my intern to do that.
So I just logged into Campfire after you in case it's some sort of cached user ID that didn't update your time. See if you get a different value.
Nothing. But it was today. And it is, well, let's look at clearing the cache. Uh, So, Jim, if you're logged in and you wanted to try and see if you get a same or a different date than what's turning up for me, I don't. Anyway, do not know what this date is, but it
I'll,
does look like it's probably server time. Go ahead.
I'll give it a try.
Thank you. Um, so it wouldn't be that. I think to answer the question that Mason was asking, I think I would use JavaScript from an efficiency standpoint. SQL is always uh, it's a round trip to the SQL server, but might even be easier to create a simple um, simple token to do that repeatedly. You do it in Razor as well. So lots of different tools. It's what's your favorite tool and what do you know how to do? Anyone else with a different approach?
Not this time.
Um, so Ben added a nice comment onto an unrelated, trying to save an automation that was previously existed with a name that is now considered invalid. So we used to let you name it anything, and now we're applying our naming rules. Just pointing out that the error message is misleading. So I'll take that on to report that as a how can we improve that area?
Yeah, just to be specific, because it literally, as you're talking, I'm multitasking and doing things, and I went to change an old automation that I have not touched in quite some time, but I'm adding something new, and I went to save it, and it gives me an error message telling me that one of the actions is not valid. It failed validation and is highlighted.
But it's pointing
And
to, I'm sorry, it's pointing to, it's saying actions.
correct.
Mm.
So I literally spent almost 30 minutes here drilling through, and this is an automation that has a lot of actions and they're nested. And I'm going through all of it. I'm like, nothing. First off, I was kind of annoyed because I'm like, well, what's highlighted? It didn't like pop it open for me. So I was drilling everywhere. I'm like, something must be highlighted. And I'm looking, and I found nothing. And then by dumb luck, I just happened to go and look at the name of the automation. I went to the settings tab and I
Hmm.
saw the name of the automation had a little tiny red error that said that there were characters that were not allowed, and they were basically parentheses around a word. As soon as I removed the parentheses, I was able to save it perfectly fine. But I literally have been spinning my wheels looking at actions because that's what the error message said.
I think that is exactly what I consider a ghost story. Did it real time. Thanks for contributing. I will look to see if that's if there's something we can do in that UI. It should definitely not reflect action. Tell you what, let me reproduce that real quick so that I don't lose it. Um, we already have. Let's do it here.
While you're doing that, I got back my login time, and it's in UTC time when I
Th-
tested that token.
Perfect. Thanks for doing that bit of research. So I would absolutely agree. This message highlighted actions is very misleading. It would send you to looking at the actions, and the problem is on settings. So if you're in actions when you click save, there was nothing that would clue you in that you needed to check elsewhere. So something even if we knew that it was on the settings tab, it would be great to say that. But even if it said this job doesn't pass validation, it would be at least not sending you down a bad path. It would be sending you to look for, wouldn't focus you, right? So uh, I will take on that to report. What else? All right. Well, I'm going to propose that we leave early. It might take me 6 minutes to find the right button, but I'll try and do that anyway. If you have a few minutes, hang around and we'll do uh, the afterglow segment. But thanks for joining us for this hour, and we will see you again in 1 week.